Tonight's story is quiet, soft, and full of warmth. A gentle walk through golden fields and quiet nurseries, where life begins not with fanfare, but with the soft wobble of a freshly warmed egg. If you're a fan of Pokémon, or if our stories help you rest easier at night, feel free to like and subscribe. It means the world to us, and we'd love to have you back here again. So tonight, we begin with a journal, not the kind filled with numbers or grand discoveries. No, this one's far more quiet. It belongs to a Pokémon breeder, someone who rises with the sun, walks among the dew, and listens for the whisper of life inside an egg dot. So now, take a breath, close your eyes if you'd like, and drift with me to Kalos, to the stretch of soft farmland nestled between Campfire Town and the Battle Chateau. This is Route 7, and this morning you are a Pokémon breeder. The first light of morning seeps through the cotton curtains of your little stone cottage, brushing against the wood-paneled floor in stripes of golden warmth. You haven't needed an alarm clock in years, not when the roosters crow in harmony with the cries of young Pokémon waking from their nests. You stretch slowly beneath a quilt patterned with patches from a dozen regions. Unova's spiral seashells, Johto's golden apricorns, Alolan tropical leaves. A sleepy fledgling chirps from your windowsill, fluffing its feathers against the cold glass, then takes off in a flutter toward the barns. You swing your legs out of bed, toes brushing the coolness of the floor. Another day has begun. This is your life on Route 7, a wide, fertile stretch of land, known for its flower fields, its slow rivers, and most of all, the Pokémon nursery tucked near the base of the hillside. Your nursery dot, your boots are worn smooth on the soles, and your apron is faded, but everything you own smells gently of hay, fur, and the vanilla-sweet scent of freshly warmed Pokémon eggs outside. The fields are still drowsy with mist. Long rows of berry bush, specha, oran, and citrus bask in the dew. Your toros are already grazing, their breath puffing in the cold. Along the fence, a line of young Skiddo walk, single file, mimicking their mother as she shows them how to nibble the flower buds without pulling the roots. Your first stop is the incubation shed. It's always the first stop. Inside, the air is warm and humid, filled with the soft hum of heat lamps and the occasional tap-tap of tiny claws scratching its shell. You remove your gloves gently and run your hand over the surface of the closest, eager pale speckled one belonging to a Swablu pair. It rocks once, ever so slightly, beneath your palm. You smile. On the table near the wall, your journal lies open. You jot down a few notes with quiet efficiency. Swablu egg shows signs of activity. Transferred to wool nest by noon. Odd egg with pink sheen remains inert, possibly chancy. Will monitor. Gibble pair in pen 3 appears increasingly. Affectionate, possible new egg. You don't mark them with numbers. You've never needed to. Each egg is known by its texture, its feel, its warmth. You pause at a particularly large egg in a clay bowl padded with Marepi wool. It hums softly when you touch it, a quiet vibration like a purring growlithe. You feel its warmth seep into your fingers, and you smile again, the kind of smile that stays behind the eyes. You whisper gently, "Not long now." Asterisk outside. The sun has fully risen. The air smells of damp grass and orange blossoms. You step into your boots and make your way to the eastern field, where a group of young Pokémon waits for their morning care. A nervous Skiddo stands apart from the others today, its ears flicking. Its coat is tangled, and it avoids the brushes. You carry hay there, you say softly, crouching down so you're smaller than it did. Something spook you, little one. The Skiddo snorts, but doesn't run. You hold out a berry muffin wrapped in cloth, and after a moment of hesitation, the young Pokemon licks the edge. You let it come to you, inch by inch. Your hands move in slow, rhythmic circles as you begin to comb through its messy fur, pulling out burrs, knots, and dry grass. You hum gently as you work not a song, just a soft sound, the kind that fills the quiet between heartbeats. By the time the Skiddo is clean, it has nudged its nose into your palm, eyes half closed in trust. Asterisk midday comes with warm breezes and buzzing gumbies. You walk the rows of crops, checking the soil near the petcha bushes and making notes on which plants need reseeding. A pair of playful mudkip leap through the irrigation channels, splashing water onto your boots. Inside the barn, a Kangaskhan mother watches you with soft eyes as her child naps in her pouch. You lower your head in greeting, knowing she does not like sudden movements. In the hayloft above, a sleepy hoot-hoot rotates slowly on its perch, following your movements with one blinking eye. Then the bell on the incubation shed chimes once, soft, barely audible. You freeze. Then you run, not fast, not frantically, but with quiet purpose. Inside the shed, the Swablu egg is rocking violently now, little fractures spiderwebbing across its surface. You lift it gently into your arms and place it in a wool-lined nest beside the heater. The egg trembles. A faint warbling chirp rises from within. You crouch, you wait, you breathe. The shell splits with a soft crack, then another, and then a fluff of damp blue feathers blinking blindly into the world. A newborn Swablu. You smile wide this time, not because this is rare, it isn't. You've seen hundreds hatch, thousands, but it never stops feeling like magic. You lift the tiny creature in a towel and whisper, "Hello, little one." The Swablu opens its beak in a sleepy squawk, and you press it gently to your chest, letting it feel your warmth, your heartbeat. Asterisk evening falls slowly here. The sky turns lavender and gold, and the wind carries the smell of soil, feathers, and distant river water. You finish your chores one by one, feeding the nocturnal Pokemon, sweeping the porches, changing the wool in the incubators. You return to the cottage after sunset. The little Swablu is curled up in a basket near the fire, its head tucked under. One wing, you settle into your armchair and open your journal again. Swablu egg, hatched healthy, strong chirp, bright eyes, loves warmth. Kibble pear-laid egg after sunset, will inspect in morning. You sit in the stillness. The flames crackle softly. Somewhere outside, a Lediba hums in the tall grass. You close your eyes, asterisk, but even as you rest, the world keeps turning. The Ditto in Penfor stirs in its sleep. The Gibel egg warms under fresh wool. The forest beyond the hill whispers a name you won't hear until morning. And your day, though finished, has left something behind, a ripple, a breath, a heartbeat. In the next story, we will shift perspectives into the quiet, shifting thoughts of a Ditto who has lived in the nursery for over 10 years. What does it remember? What has it become? And what does it mean to be everyone and no one at all? You are not a name. You are not a color, or a species, or a sound. You are a shape, soft and undefined. You are the curve of a breath, the echo of footsteps behind another. You are Ditto, and you have lived in this daycare for so long. You've forgotten who you were before it, but that doesn't bother you. In truth, you rather enjoy it here. Asterisk, the early light doesn't bother your eyes. You don't really have eyes, not in the same way as the other Pokemon. You do, but they're simple two soft dots. dots atop a lavender face that's barely more than a suggestion. You watch the sun rise from the shade of the barn, surrounded by hay bales and old wheelbarrows. You do not sleep the way others do, not deeply, not for long, because you are always listening for footsteps, for the sound of the breeder's boots along the gravel path, listening for your name, even if it changes every day. Sometimes they call you buddy, sometimes they say old friend, sometimes nothing at all, just a soft pat on your gelatinous side and a smile that reaches the eyes. You like that. Best asterisk, the morning begins with grooming. Not yours, no one brushes a Ditto. You don't have fur or feathers. You don't molt. But still, you help. You follow the breeder through the pens, imitating the shapes of other Pokémon as needed. Today, the young Puccina is frightened by the comb. So, with a gentle plop, you swell upward, your body rising and stretching, becoming a Puccina yourself. Your fur sleek and shining. You crouch beside the nervous pup and begin to mimic the grooming behavior. Soft rhythmic licks, gentle nudges, nothing threatening. The real Puccina watches you wide-eyed. Then cautiously, she leans in, lets the brush touch her back, and when it doesn't hurt, she closes her eyes. The breeder mouths a quiet thank. You nod. You don't speak, but you understand. Asterisk, you remember the first time you transformed, or rather, you remember the first time you liked it. A young little Leo had been dropped off by a traveling trainer, frightened, and proud to admit he was in pain. He growled at everyone, bit at food bowls, paced like he'd been abandoned, because perhaps you had never seen a Leo before. But you'd watched him for days, listened to the way he breathed, how his ears twitched before a sound, how he flinched when someone got too close. And so, one day, without being asked, you became one, not just in shape, but in rhythm. You walked the pen like he did, ignored food when it was offered, snarled softly when the others passed too near. He saw you, and for the first time in days, he lay beside you, not touching, not speaking, but breathing the same dot. You stayed that way through the night, and in the morning, when he pressed his muzzle to your side, you became Ditto again, and he did not run. You've never forgotten the warmth of that moment. Asterisk now, years later, you remember them all, the shy Gumi, who never came out of her shell unless you were one too, the loud stomping tyrant who only calmed when you matched his exact growl pitch, the snubble who liked to dance but needed a partner who didn't laugh. You became them all, and in doing so, you became something else, not a copy, not an echo, but a mosaic, a life made up of other lives. Asterisk, sometimes you wonder if you were ever anything else. Sometimes at night, when the breeder has long since gone inside, and the stars flicker like distant eyes in the sky, you let your shape melt down into a puddle in the grass, and ask the earth below, what was I before I began to mirror? But the earth only hums, and the stars only blink, and you suppose it doesn't matter, because in the nursery, you are everything. You are the first friend, the practice partner, the missing parent, the emotional mirror. You are needed, and in being needed, you are whole. Asterisk today. The breeder leaves you with a task. A new pair has arrived to Pokémon who are anxious around others. One is a Zangoose, his fur bristling like electricity. The other is a Delcatty, her gaze distant, her ears flicking at every sound. You enter their pen slowly. You don't change right away. You just sit. The Zangoose paces. The Delcatty watches. You lie in the grass and shift, not into them, but into something else, something soft, familiar, a guard of war. You let the form settle slowly, tall and elegant, with hands folded gently in your lap. You hum, low and wordless. The sound echoes through the air like a lullaby without language. Delcatty approaches first. She brushes against the hem of your illusionary gown. Then Zangoose, whose hackles finally lower as he sits beside you. Silent, you hold that shape for hours, and when they finally curl around one another for a nap, you let the form dissolve and slip away unnoticed. Asterisk, you do not age like the others, not visibly. Your surface doesn't wrinkle, your limbs don't tire, but still you feel older. In the same way a stone feels smooth from being held too long, not worn down, just softened, polished by time. And sometimes you miss being nothing, just for a little while. Asterisk, when the eggs hatch, you are often the first to greet them. You become the same species, so they are not afraid. You chirp as they chirp. You waddle when they do. You let them crawl on your back, chew on your ear, hide beneath your mimicry of fur. You become the mirror in which they see themselves. First, and when they are ready, when they no longer need the reflection, you become soft again and slip into the background like a forgotten dream. And they go on. Asterisk, there are times when trainers return years later with evolved partners who rush toward the fence, chirping or barking or roaring in excitement. They remember you, even if their trainer doesn't. You watch from the barn, shift into their old selves for just a moment, and smile. They are loved. They are strong. You had a part in that, and it is enough. Asterisk, the breeder calls you old friend. Tonight, they leave a plate of warm poffins by the pen. Even though you don't eat much, you stretch your body into a more relaxed shape, half pillow, half puddle, and settle beneath the moonlight. The barn is quiet. The eggs are asleep. The fields are silver with dew-dot, and in the hush of the evening you remember the Litlio's warmth, the tyrant's roar, the Gumi's silence, the trainer's smile. You hold them all like flickers in a flame. You are no one. You are everyone. You are everyone. You are a Ditto, and this is your story. Next story, we step into the quiet lore of Pokémon Eggs themselves, unraveling the mysteries behind how they form, why they inherit traits, and how the very act of hatching holds ancient poetic echoes throughout the Pokémon world, from the shimmering Manaphy egg to the soft nest of an Altaria pair. We'll explore the beauty of beginnings. Before there were trainers, before there were Pokeballs, before the first battle was fought, there were eggs, silent, still perfect in their mystery, even now, with machines that can scan DNA and Pokédex entries that can record every heartbeat. No one truly understands where Pokémon eggs come from. They simply appear softly in the quiet hours of early morning at the base of a nest, in a carefully dug hollow, sometimes even just between two sleeping forms, a gesture of closeness that leaves something more behind. Asterisk, you sit cross-legged in the incubation shed, the lights dimmed to a soft glow, watching the eggs. Each one rests in its own little nest, some made of Merapi wool, others of straw, and one from the fallen down of an Altaria's tail, as soft as dreams. There's no sound but the low hum of the heatstones, the occasional rustle of a tail in the barn outside, the breathing of the world at here, in this hush. You study the shape of beginnings. Asterisk, not all eggs look the same. A Swablu egg is pale sky blue, with faint white puffs that resemble clouds. A Gibble egg is dusty slate, rougher in texture, with small ridges like a buried stone. A chikorita's egg smells faintly of herbs. A houndour's is faintly warm, like a pebble left too long in the sun. You've held them all, turned them gently in your hands, pressed them to your cheek in the cold of winter, and listened for life, and in each one there is a kind of silence that feels alive. Asterisk people often ask you, where do the eggs come from? And you smile every time, because even now, with years of breeding behind you, you don't really know. You understand the mechanics. You know about compatibility. You know about egg groups, how a boozle and a floatzel may create an egg, but a boozle and a lapras cannot. But why? Why these pairings and not others? What ancient rhythm do these creatures follow that you can only glimpse from the edges? You wonder if it's a kind of language not spoken but shared in glances and warmth, in the way tails wrap together or foreheads touch before sleep. Some Pokémon never lay eggs, even if the conditions are perfect. Others do, even when apart from their partners. You've seen both. You've felt the mystery of it. Asterisk, and then there is inheritance. Another mystery. A young Torchic hatches with a move it could never have learned on its own. A soft echo of its parents' breath. A Riolu is born with a fierce protectiveness, just like the Lucario that once protected you from a wild Scalipede years ago. How, no one knows. Not truly. They call them egg moves. But to you, they feel more like memories, passed down, like lullabies taught before birth, or feelings so strong they leave their mark on what comes next. A Snorant born of a Glalie, who once braved the harshest storm, never shivers. An Eevee, whose father loved to leap between rooftops, lands lightly on her paws the first time she plays. These things aren't coincidence. They are gifts, not taught, but given. Asterisk, you think often about the Manaphy egg. Unlike others, it's always the same, always warm, always glowing, found in hidden places beneath waterfalls, in sealed temples, in the very heart of untouched nature. No one breeds Manaphy. No one makes it. It simply appears like a star fallen into a puddle, and inside always is life, the egg of the sea. You saw one once. Only once a traveler passed through your nursery with a strange accent and a battered coat and a Manaphy egg wrapped in seawater-soaked cloth. They asked for nothing, only shelter and silence. You held the egg just once. It was heavier than. It looked like it contained not only life, but memory. All the tides of all the oceans, held in something smaller than your hands. In the morning the traveler was gone, and the egg with them. You wonder sometimes if that moment was real, but the salt-stained corner of your journal still smells faintly of the sea. Asterisk, there is a belief, old as the mountains, that Pokémon Eggs are the dreams of Arceus, that each wobble, each faint pulse of light is a wish, not from a trainer, not from a machine, but from the world itself, that every Pokémon born is needed, somehow, somewhere, even the smallest, most fragile ones, even those with only moments to live. There are legends of eggs that never hatch until the right hand touches them, or the right lullaby is sung. There are stories of cursed eggs, too, but you don't believe them. Not really, no egg is cursed, only misunderstood. Asterisk, and what of those who protect the eggs? You know them well, Altaria mothers who wrap their wings like clouds around their nests. Kangaskhan who lift their young even before the shell breaks. The gruff, stoic Darmanitan who once stood over a nest of Pichu eggs through 3 nights of frost, and you too. You are not their kin, not their species, but you are their keeper. You keep the lamps lit, you mix the berry pastes, you change the wool, clean the first warmth some of them ever feel. And when the eggs hatch, when the first cracks appear, and the first cries fill the air, you are the one they see. Asterisk tonight, a new egg is placed in your care. It is pale, so pale, it's almost translucent, not large, but not small either. It doesn't wobble, doesn't shine, doesn't hum, but feels old, not ancient in years, but in presence, like something that has waited a long time to be found. You wrap it in merapi wool, place it beneath the soft lamp, and sit beside it for hours, saying nothing, just listening, and in the silence you think you feel something stir, not movement, not sound, but a thought beneath your fingertips, a memory, not yours, and when you blink, your eyes are wet. Asterisk eggs are strange things, so small, so still, so quiet, but inside them is thunder and kindness and grief and beginnings. So tonight you will keep watch. You will guard this egg as you have guarded all the others, even if it never hatches, even if it's just a dream, because dreams deserve protection too. And who knows, perhaps one day, long after you are gone, someone will find it again, still warm, still waiting, and wonder what lives in here. In your final segment, we enter the misty woods of Kalos Route. A young trainer finds themselves lost in an ancient forest. The cries of children echo in the fog, and ghostly figures watch from between the trees. Based on the Pokédex entry for Phantump, this story gently explores the eerie role they play in guiding the lost and how their sorrow, far from frightening, becomes a beacon of compassion in the dark. The forest is older than the road, older than the maps, older than names. Locals call it the Whispering Hollow, but no signs bear that name, even on the clearest days. The trees stand like silhouettes, shoulders hunched, branches gnarled and reaching like forgotten hands. The canopy is thick enough to trap the light, and the fog never fully leaves. It lingers near the moss, curled at the base of every tree, clinging to roots and forgotten paths. Most travelers stay on the main trail, the one paved in broken cobblestone, just wide enough for a wagon to pass. But tonight, someone has wandered from it. Asterisk the trainer is young, no older than 15. Their backpack is heavier than it should be, and their Pokémon battery has been blinking red for the last hour. They don't remember how they left the road, only that they'd seen something. A flicker of movement between the trees, a shape just out of view, and had followed it. Now they are alone, no cell signal, no footprints to retrace, only fog and silence until they hear it, a cry thin, high-pitched and distant, like a child's voice echoing through the trees. It rises, then vanishes, then another, closer still, far, still strange. The trainer turns slowly. They are not scared. Not exactly. The sound is too soft for that. Too sad. It doesn't feel like something lurking. It feels like something calling. Asterisk, they step forward. The forest floor is springy with old pine needles and damp leaves. Their boots leave no sound. The fog thickens. It curls around their legs, cold and damp. Their breath fogs too, but doesn't float. It sinks. The trees here are different, shorter, thicker, each trunk gnarled and scarred, and some look too small to have grown that way, more like stumps, carved into odd shapes, some with holes that look like eyes, some with twigs that jut out like crooked arms, and then just ahead they see it, A flicker of movement, a pair of glowing round eyes, blinking once, twice, the darting behind a tree. Asterisk, the trainer steps closer. Hello, they whisper. The forest does not answer, but another cry echoes closer now, and more than 1304. Voices overlapping not in pain, not in panic, just calling softly, like lullabies sung backward. Asterisk, then the fog parts just slightly, and there they are, Phantump, half a dozen of them. Their forms flicker slightly in the dim light, tiny stumps of wood with ghostly energy in their hollow centers. Their eyes glow with a dim orange red hue. They hover inches above the ground, never quite still. The largest floats to the front, tilts its head, and lets out a cry, not loud, not shrill, a sound like wind through a broken flute. The trainer takes a breath, then another. They do not run because suddenly they feel less lost. Asterisk, the Phantump don't move in a line. They don't wave or gesture, but slowly, one by one, they drift back the way they came, stopping now and then to glance back. The trainer follows, not out of fear, but because they feel like they're supposed to, like walking with them is the right thing. The mist shifts around them, and slowly the forest begins to change. Asterisk, the trees are taller now, thinner, healthier. The fog is lighter. The air carries a scent of distant river water and soil. The cries continue, soft, distant, steady, but now they sound more like humming, and then the trainer sees it. A break in the trees, the edge of the forest, a light, the trail. Asterisk, they turn to thank them, but the Phantump are gone. No flicker, no farewell, only the wind in the trees, and the faint smell of moss. Asterisk, that night, the trainer finds their way to a small inn just outside the woods. An old woman runs it. Her braided silver hair wraps like a crown across her head. Her apron is stained with pechaberry preserves. As the trainer eats by the hearth, they mention the forest, the cries, the Phantump. The woman listens without interrupting, and then, very softly, she says, "They never mean harm, dear. They're the ones who got lost a long, long time ago." The trainer looks up. The woman continues, "They were children once, gone into the woods too far. Some say they passed, some say the forest took them, but their spirits stayed, and the trees," she smiles, "old stumps, hollowed out, the perfect place for a lost voice to curl up and wait. And now," the woman sets a warm mug of Warren milk in front of the trainer. "Now they wait for others who are lost, so no one else has to be." Asterisk, outside, the wind blows gently, the leaves rustle like lullabies, and if you listen very closely, you can still hear them, the faint cries, not of pain, but of purpose, the Phantump who guide the lost. Asterisk, they are not scary, not anymore. They are the map when you have no compass, the light when the torch goes out, the voice when you're too tired to speak. They are the ones who stay behind, so others can go home. They are children once lost, who became something more, not ghosts, but guardians. Asterisk, and perhaps one day you'll wander too far, and the forest will darken, and the fog will rise, and you'll hear a soft cry like a wail or a whisper. And when you follow it, if you are kind and quiet and patient, you just might find your way back.